Wondering if the Iceberg Lake hike should be on your list of hikes for Glacier National Park? We're gonna find out. Hey there, I'm Alex from Alex on the Map, and I grew up right by Glacier, but I actually didn't hike to Iceberg Lake until last year, and I'm so glad I did because it's now become one of my new favorite hikes in the park, and one I definitely recommend to clients looking for a little bit of a challenge but an amazing payoff. One thing I will say about Iceberg before we get started though is it does require a little bit more planning due to the Glacier National Park reservation system that they've had for the past few years, and because the parking lot at the Swift Current Motoring can get a little bit crowded because it is the starting point for a bunch of hikes in the Many Glacier area. This video will cover how to get there, what you need to know, and how you can make the most of your hike if you choose to do so. But first, some quick stats on the hike before we get started. It is 9.6 miles, meaning it is long, but not super long. It's still doable. The difficulty is moderate. I would say there are a few steep sections, but overall it's just kind of a gradual incline. Your total elevation gain is going to be 1,459 feet, and I would guess that you'll be on the trail around 4 hours and 20-30 minutes or so. All right, let's jump into the hike. You're going to start this hike at the parking lot of the Swift Current Motor Inn, which is past the Many Glacier Hotel, past the Grinnell Glacier Trailhead, and you just keep going down until the very end. You will need a reservation to hike this hike in 2024, so I definitely recommend you check out my video on Glacier National Park reservations just to make sure you are all in the clear and you're ready to go on this hike. There will be a little sign that'll mention hike to Ptarmigan Tunnel and Iceberg Lake, and you're gonna go just past that. It's going to be a little bit steep in the beginning, I would say for the first mile or so, and then it's going to even out. You're going to keep going until you reach an intersection where the Ptarmigan Trail starts, and you're gonna wanna continue left and not go right, because right will take you up to the Ptarmigan Tunnel, which is another great hike in the park, and you can actually add on to this hike if you're up for it. But if you just want to do Iceberg, continue left. You're going to see a number of the surrounding mountains, including Mount Grinnell, Swift Current Mountain, Mount Wilbur, and the Ptarmigan Wall. Keep in mind that this hike is prime bear territory, and while we didn't see a bear on this hike, several others on the trail actually did. So making sure, again, you have your bear spray and you are hiking in a group, you are talking loud, all those things can help avoid a bear encounter while you're taking on Iceberg. At about 2.5 miles in the hike, you'll come across this nice little clearing. There's a little footbridge. This is a great place to stop, refill your water if you need to, and just relax for a second or two. We really enjoy sitting and just enjoying looking at the water as it rushed by. There's going to be another junction for the Ptarmigan Trail and Iceberg, and you're going to just continue straight as you always have. The next 2 miles are going to be pretty same. It's going to be fairly open. This is an open hike, so definitely recommend bringing your sun protection, including sunscreen and a hat, because you will be having a lot of open area, and I got sunburned for sure while hiking this. Once you've reached about 4.5 miles into the hike, there's another little footbridge that will just lead you right down to Iceberg Lake, and there you are. This was another spot that people said that they saw bears, so just keeping that in mind. Again, using those voices and having your bear spray at the ready. It depends on the time of year, but you might actually see icebergs floating in the lake, which is of course why it's called Iceberg Lake. If you are later in the summer, say August, it might not be there, but earlier in the summer, sometimes that happens. We stopped and had a picnic lunch and just relaxed, put our feet in the water. It was very cold, so we didn't go all the way in. And when you're done, you're just going to want to head back the way you came because it is an out and back trail. Here are some tips to help you make the most of your hike if you choose to take on Iceberg. One thing I would recommend is starting really early on this hike, because not only is it a pretty popular option, but it does get super hot in the late afternoon. So getting in even before the reservations are required at 6 a.m. might be a good idea if you want to secure that parking spot and you also don't want to deal with the heat. The weather in this area of the park changes really rapidly. You can have a beautiful day and then a storm rolls in and it just totally changes everything. So making sure you have the right gear with you can be a game changer. I have a whole video about what to pack for Glacier National Park, including what you need on your hikes, so you might want to check that out before you take on this hike. Again, keeping a lookout for bears because they are quite common in this area. Knowing your bear safety options, being able to tell the difference between a black bear and a grizzly bear, and also knowing how to use your bear spray can come in really a lot handy. Really a lot handy. Okay. If you're a photographer, I definitely recommend hiking earlier or hiking later because the light is going to be a little bit better than that harsh sun you might get during the summer months in the afternoon. And leave no trace because it's such a common picnic area. I did see a lot of people leave trash that I picked up and took with me. Just remembering to bring those items when you are done with them and pack them back out is amazing. Thank you for doing so. All right, we're gonna go over a few FAQs that you might have when it comes to hiking Iceberg. Number one is, do I need a reservation to hike to Iceberg? And the answer is yes for this year, 2024, if you plan on entering after 6 a.m. and before 3 p.m., yes, you will need a reservation. Again, this is why I recommend you check out my video because the Many Glacier reservation system is different from the Going to the Sun reservation system, so keeping that in mind. How long is the Iceberg Lake Trail? It is 9.7 miles total as an out and back. And I would say that you would spend about at least 4 hours on the trail, if not more. One thing I will mention again is if you would like to continue on to the Ptarmigan Tunnel, that is entirely possible because the trails intersect. It will add a few more hours onto your hike, but if you are all for it and you're feeling physically good, then it might be a nice extension to include in your day. How difficult is Iceberg? I would say it's in the moderate category. It's not the hardest hike I've done in the Many Glacier area or in Glacier in general, but it's definitely not the easiest too. So it's great for older kids, I would say, for intermediate hikers, those who have hiked quite a bit before but may not be up for those super tough hikes. How common are bears? Well, they're fairly common. I wouldn't say that they're not there. So again, just having general bear awareness and knowledge is just, it's better to be safe than sorry. Can you drive to Iceberg Lake? Nope, sorry. If you want to see it, you gotta hike to it. When does Iceberg Lake open? Well, the park is open 24/7, but you can actually only get to the trailhead once the Many Glacier area is open to tourists. Usually that is in late June, early July-ish. Keep in mind too that if you are hiking earlier in the summer, say June, then the snowpack might not actually be all gone yet, so you might not make it to the lake. That doesn't mean it's not worth doing, it's just maybe you might not get to see kind of the whole point of the hike in general, which is to get to Iceberg. When is the best time to hike this hike? I would say July, August, and September. That's when all the ice has been melted and it is open. September, I think, is just an amazing month to visit the park in general because you have all those fall colors. It's not as busy. But July, August, those are the popular months and when you can go. Is Iceberg good for kids? And I would say yes, older kids will have no problem with it. Your younger kids might have a little bit of difficulty just because it is a lot of up, especially at the beginning. But older kids, they're gonna have no problem with it. Can you swim in Iceberg? You can. It is very cold. I mean, there are actual icebergs in the lake, so you gotta think it's freezing. But we did see a bunch of people pop in, especially it was a super hot day when we were there. So I can see how that might be refreshing in a masochistic kind of way. Also, just make sure there's a way for you to warm up, whether that's relaxing on the shore and knowing you're getting a lot of sun or bundling up after. You don't want hypothermia on top of bears, it's a bad combo. All right, I hope this has helped you plan and decide whether or not you want to take on Iceberg. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and hit that subscribe button and the bell notification for more updates on Glacier National Park and other national park hikes.